Transferable skills.
From Cackle Media, this is Transferable Skills. I'm Noah Mishkin. Today's guest is James Hatfield, who shares his skills journey from house painting into wearing many hats within the world of technology and product. I hope you enjoy. James, welcome to the show. Great to have you here today.
I'm grateful to be here. Excited to share everything good, bad, and ugly. Things that transfer well and things that you don't want to transfer with you anyways.
Oh, that's actually interesting. We don't talk about that often enough, which is what are skills that you should not be transferring over into
Yeah,
your next role? What's your baggage that you'd rather leave behind?
absolutely. Because here's the thing. You go with you wherever and everywhere you go. So you're going to take you with you. I've been around so many people and I give this advice, like, remember, you go with you wherever you go. So it's not
Yeah.
always about the green grass on the other side. You're the problem. Nobody wants to admit that. No one wants to say they're the problem. No one wants to look at themselves first. They want to look at everything they can't control instead of like what they can control.
Well, typically when something keeps going wrong, if there's a way for somebody to give that feedback and say, well, what's the common denominator? It's you, or this methodology clearly hasn't worked because you keep trying this practice over and over. And if it's not yielding positive results, let's figure out from a data standpoint what isn't working and how to attribute that lack of success or failure to.
Sure, absolutely.
Not everybody wants to take that ownership though.
No, or has people that speak truth into their life because they're just so proud. Like I find humility to be a superpower, right?
Oh my God, totally. And the thing that we all probably don't do enough of is when you leave an organization, especially if it's not your own choice and you were given performance feedback, do you do a postmortem? You normally say retrospective, but in this case, it really is a postmortem kind of thing. And did you take that feedback to heart, or did you take it as an attack on you? But if you can actually synthesize the information you were given and look at it and say, okay, am I at fault, or what could I do differently the next time in a better way? It's a great opportunity at your next role to then reinvent yourself. If you were perceived as something in high school, you're no longer in high school. Change who you are, how you present yourself, and try to be better at the next thing.
Right. Well, see, pride is like bad breath. Everyone else knows you have it, but you, right? And if
Yeah.
you're proud, you have this wall up where you can't hear or you can't accept or you can't let somebody challenge you. Like the wounds from a friend can be trusted. And sometimes you have them inside the four walls of your business. And if you're lucky, if you do, you're really lucky if you actually have somebody that you can be told the truth to and you tell the truth. Like I had a guy, so I picked up someone else's team. And the first thing I do is I do like I look at their background and I got a guy who was on a performance plan. And this is a brilliant dude. I mean, I'm like, background looks great, great education. Like, goodness gracious, like what's going on here? And I start going to his previous managers and I'm like, hey, tell me everything about this guy. And I gathered it. And our first time we sat down, like, hello, my name is, I'm like, I need you to brace yourself because I'm about to tell you everything nobody told you. And I just went through the list. And I'm like, were you aware of any of this? No, no one told me. Okay, how are you feeling? He's like, this is the hardest first meeting I've ever had in my life. I'm like, okay, well, you have options. Let's talk about it. One, walk out the door. Just leave. I mean, you're on a performance plan. I don't get fired. I quit.
Yeah.
Like, you can do that. Or we can give this a college try. What do you want to do? He's like, I want to give it a college try. I'm like, all right, then let's do it. From that moment on, he is just soared. And I can't make this stuff up. I'm literally on a golf course in Scotland. And I have never met this person physically, face to face. It was all remote-based team. I'm in the middle of a beautiful golf course, Cruden Bay. If you're a golfer, you know Cruden Bay. Like, and if you don't, look it up. My goodness, it's one of the most epic golf courses in the world.
There'll be a link in the show
And
notes.
I'm swinging on like a box, and I hear James Hatfield, and literally I thought, I thought, like nobody knows me. I'm in Scotland.
Yeah.
So I literally think like, I was like, there's got to be an emergency.
It's the pro coming after you.
The pro, like about to
From the
deliver,
shop.
like you got to get on an airplane because your wife died or something ridiculous.
Oh God.
Like
Yeah.
what else would somebody be yelling my name for? I'm not that, And here he is. There's the guy. And he runs up, gives me the biggest hug. It was epic.
What was he doing there?
Playing golf with his brother.
He was in the country to play golf. You were also in the country, and happened to be on the same course at the
First
same time
meeting
and
ever.
at the same hole.
Yeah. Like, he was
That's
it
insane.
was insane.
I think the likelihood of that ever happening would actually lead me to assume it's not you, and I would probably never say anything,
Yeah.
even if it was you.
He yelled it as loud as he could, he knew it, ran up, but, I mean, our first meeting, I nailed him right in the face. I'm like, "Here's what we're gonna attack or run away from."
Well, it's radical candor. You were transparent with him and honest from day one, and you built that rapport and the trust.
Yeah. Can we just say the truth? I know the truth will
Yeah.
get you killed sometimes, but, like,
Well, why do you think that a lot of those things were hidden from that individual? Why?
I think that mamby-pamby land, you know? You
It
don't
was
wanna hurt his
HR, and I don't mean
feelings.
to blame
Yeah.
HR. What I'm saying is, let me qualify that actually a little bit better. I'm not blaming HR. It's that we are so worried about being sued, and so we don't actually give helpful criticism and feedback always. Sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't. And so they probably felt that it's easiest when after somebody's performance plan, part of that is there's like 10 things that are wrong, but we're going to focus on the one thing that's probably most critical and directly related to your job description that you are in control of. If it's something like, hey, your personality is terrible, unlikely that they can change it, and it's probably an HR problem. But they have all these different things. They were probably just focusing on the thing that we need you to correct for the performance of your business, of your role. And if you can't, you have to go. And that's the reason we're letting you go, even though there's probably other things that
Yeah,
are equally, if not
yeah,
more
and,
important.
I mean, this stuff has gotten me in trouble. Like, when you tell people the truth, some will love you for it and others will hate you for it. This is a transferable skill, by the way. I think this fits right in the money of what we're talking about. Take radical candor with you everywhere you go. Now,
Yeah.
there'll be people that love you and will follow you to the ends of the earth, and there'll be other people that wanna run you over with their truck, and they'll write it to everybody who knows, right?
Well, that's what Ray Dalio was talking about in his book Principles, which you and I I mentioned to you before the show. Is he calls it radical transparency, which is the same thing. And they say there are some people that just cannot handle it, that they operate in their company uh, exactly like that. And if you can't handle it, you're out by choice, probably. But most of the time, people will appreciate and will benefit from that honesty.
Totally. I mean, everybody's carrying something, right? And
Yeah.
my wife always laughs because she's like, "James, you're always 2 or 3 questions deep with someone and they start crying on you." I'm like, "Yeah, because I just get hopped to it." Like, if someone looks down, guess what I say? "Hey, you look a little down. Is there something going on?" Even if they don't know me from anybody, because they can tell I genuinely care. I'm with you, I'm with you. You know, I'm not thinking
Yeah.
about I'm here. I'm remaining present. And then that radical transparency, candor, even through courageous questions, you know, like I love listening to Chris Voss, his stuff. You know,
Yeah. Never split the difference.
that is a masterclass on how to ask questions.
Yeah.
How and
I've
what
read it several
questions? Yeah,
times.
I've listened to it 3 times. I mean, learning how to ask powerful, courageous how and what questions and keep digging, like, you will always know who's in control of a meeting or a organization by who asks the most questions. And the person asking the most questions is actually more in the seat of power, if you wanna name it something. It's always very interesting to me. So these are some of the
Yeah.
things I think are really worth digging into and getting better at. I'm still constantly challenging myself to be a better question asker.
I'm challenging myself to be a better listener. Always.
Yep, 2 ears, 1 mouth, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's begin back at the beginning
Yep.
because we jumped into your career after kind of
Yeah.
acquiring a team. What was your first job, or what were you thinking about doing?
Well, outside of just a little high school jobs, well, the high school job I had was I don't even really ever bring this up. I ran a karate school. I don't know if you see above my head, there's a bunch of weapons.
I can barely. Oh yeah, I
There's a
see. Yeah,
bunch of
yeah.
weapons up there.
Shotokan.
Okinawan old school karate.
Oh wow. Yeah, that is
Old school karate.
OG karate.
OG karate, and I taught karate school, and for this guy who owned the business, and he had me run all the classes, run the summer camps. So I got a front row seat, and it was a small business, and he poured into me, right? And then but from there, previous to that, my grandfather, his dad died young, and he's a self-made man. He actually had to drop out of high school and go get a job to put food on the table. Wow, as a 16-year-old, can you imagine? And then my
Yeah.
father's father died young, and so they came from nothing. My dad wanted me to be a plumber, and my grandfather wanted me to be a painter. And so, right when I graduated high school, I opened up a painting company. I learned how to paint a house the right way, and, I built 2 crews out of that, put money in my pocket, and then eventually I was like, "Ah, I probably need to really understand the numbers." Like, that's where I was weak. I was strong in leadership, strong in sales, strong in a lot of areas, but very weak on the numbers, and so, at that time, 20 plus years ago, state school was affordable, so I was like, "Alright, I'm gonna go to state school while I run my company so I can learn this," and I did.
What does it mean when you say you know how to paint houses the right way?
It means I took the time to get around someone who's been doing it a long time, and there's a process to paint the house the right way, like, first start by washing it, and wash it the right way. You wash the house before you paint it, right?
Why?
Because you need that dirt to come off, and so the paint will adhere to what you're
Yeah.
painting. You need to wash the house properly the right way and make sure it's super clean before you get to work on that, and a lot of painters miss that. In fact, just cut corners, right? And also it costs money, and they want their bids to be less. I mean, I can go off on paint and power washing, I mean, all day long. That's where it started. I had a painting company, which led to a power washing company, and that was just a happenstance. We were literally painting somebody's house, and the neighbor walks over and was like, "I don't need a house painted, but could you power wash this?" See your power washer sitting there. I was like, "I'll send a guy over." And the margins were great, the speed was great, and, we're in the South, so it gets darn hot, and living your life on a ladder.
It's a perfect opportunity to shout out to Brandon Sewell, who is the one who introduced us. Uh, Brandon, I know from years past working in home services and marketing and lead generation, was a longtime customer of our company. He's such a great guy. And he's got his own podcast that we should give a shout out to, Off the Ladder. He talks to a bunch of different entrepreneurs and business owners and practitioners within home services. And he's the one who put us in touch. And so if you're out there and you want to hear more about and understand the ins and outs of what it's like to run a home services business, has got a great podcast out
He
there.
does. He's fabulous. He's absolutely fabulous. Painting company, put myself through school, and then magic happened after that. Because as I graduated, I met my now partner of 20 plus years in business, and he has a landscaping company, laundromats, and he was finishing up his school. And what he built while he was in school and right out of it was this financial technology. You could take an income statement and balance sheet and feed it. Remember, I went to state school because I wanted to learn numbers, so we got connected that way. And then he built this thing, and he was like, "You wanna partner up and you sell it?" Sales is a strong part of, I mean, I love doing creating and building things and managing and all that good stuff, but, you know so I was like, "Well, let's give it a rip." I'll stop playing with water guns and start seeing if we can't build a software company. So that was my first major transfer from home services-based company owner to, "All right, now I'm gonna go sell technology." We're really one of America's first financial technology companies, like, over 20 plus years ago, and we took that from nothing to an Inc. 500 company, which means you're one of the fastest growing companies in the country, and then now it's a multi-billion dollar company, and we had an exit with
Did you get
KKR.
How long were you in house painting, pressure washing in that business?
Probably at least 6, 7 years.
Yeah. Did you stay in home services after that, or did you move on outside of home services?
No, that's when I went to the financial technology company. The product was built with home service people in mind. We just indirectly had
Yeah.
the CPAs and now it's banking software for loans. So it eventually evolved into loan software because we collected private company data, you know?
So what, in the financial side of it, when you're providing software services to companies that you can relate to because you are running one like that, the ones that you're serving, how does your experience influence both your product roadmap, but also how you engage or understand your customers?
It influences everything, even today. Like because that's where I come from. Those are my roots. Like I used to go to the bookkeeper and be like, they're speaking English, but I don't know what they're saying. And that's where I'm like, I got to learn this because that's my money, I went back to school and now I can read an income statement and balance sheet and tell you if you're full of it or not. Like just give me your audit and I'll tell you if you're
Yeah.
for real. Right. And talk about a skill that's transferable. But we wanted to put that power into the hands. Hey, put your income statement and balance sheet in this, and we will give you an unbiased report of like how you're really doing, and we'll compare you to other people. So that was powerful.
A lot of small businesses like that, they either don't have the resources, the solutions that will give them that data. How do you position the value of the services and why it's so important and needed when running a business to a small business that might not have been looking for that service? Or well, how do you address the pushback of I'm not sure if I can afford it or if it's worthwhile or I'm too busy doing the job. It's like the difference between working in the business versus working on it. And you got to convince somebody sometimes that you need to be working on the business.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to explain how delicious vanilla ice cream is until you actually eat it. You gotta eat it. Like, I can tell you, and you can watch me smile and eat it, man. Like, I until you when you know your numbers,
Yeah.
like, when you really know your numbers, you're gonna know. But until then, like, I
Yeah.
can only tell you how great vanilla ice cream is. Like, once you know your numbers, it's gonna open up things you never thought about. Also, it's the truth of your business. Like, do you
Right.
not wanna know the truth of your business? I mean, we can just lie to each other, that's fine, like, ignorance is bliss, last I heard, so remain ignorant, maybe it's better that way. Don't take the red pill. Don't find out what the matrix is, like, fine.
The blue pill will keep you in denial for a long time because you're ignoring the information that's actually imperative. If you need empirical data, you gotta understand you have to have access to it. Not only will that give you the vitals of your business, but it'll also allow you to see information that gets you curious to ask questions that might lead to business and product innovation and growth.
Yes.
You gotta know the information in order to ask the
You
right
need to
questions
become
that leads you down the road.
data obsessed. If you ever thought, "Well,
Yeah.
how do I grow?" Like, if you start, like, how data obsessed are you? Like, do a time and motion study on how fast a guy can paint a house. It helped me decide to buy paint sprayers back in the day when they first started coming out. It was just a
Yeah.
mathematical decision. Like, we were rolling and hand brushing, and then the paint sprayers started coming out, and now we screwed up a bunch at the beginning because it's a new tool, and we accidentally you don't wanna get paint on a roof.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh god. Yeah.
We did that. You don't wanna put the wrong paint because 'cause you're painting so fast. Like, we painted a house, and I was doing a walk around, and I'm looking at it with the owner, I'm like, "This house is shining like a diamond." He's like, "Yeah, I kinda
Yeah.
noticed that."
Gloss.
But my guys painted, yeah, gloss paint, but they painted on a cloudy day with gloss paint that they didn't like, it was a problem.
They
The
didn't see the
paint, yeah, they
difference.
didn't see a they didn't bother reading it, and they were
Yeah.
moving fast because now we got the guns, and
I'm told reading is fundamental. There's a learning curve to all this stuff, but also think about the losses of that learning curve. Whatever you had to mitigate that learning curve and what it costs you, it has been far exceeded, no question, by the performance and the efficiencies and productivity of this new
yeah,
technology.
yeah. So, get to know your numbers. If you're not going to, at least get a bookkeeper and get help there. Don't just, shove the receipts somewhere and run off an Excel spreadsheet. Like, I understand that's how you start. That's how I started, but
Yeah.
it's not gonna grow your company to where you want it to be, guaranteed.
I I find it funny and curious the way you said state school sounds like you don't feel like it's as good. I would actually argue the opposite. It's a very good value ROI on your education. So
Oh, yeah.
the reason I'm bringing that back up is because you went there to understand and get education surrounding finances and data and making yourself a little bit more financially savvy. Do you think without that education that you were somebody that was always kind of driven or curious by data before you had maybe the learning to attach to it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a data addict, at least now. But, looking backwards, I didn't know how addicted to the data I was, right? Because I was just into blocking and tackling, getting the house pressure washed or painted and, going door to door and getting the money and, responding to inbounds and all that good stuff. And I was so focused there, but then I could tell my weakness. And that's when I was like, okay, so I got to do something about this. Even we were talking earlier, I love the stock market. I can look at, just give me your numbers. You don't have to tell me the name of the company or what it does, and I'll either get interested or not. Just give me your
Can
stats.
data can data addiction become counterproductive at any point?
I mean, there's analysis paralysis. Yeah, sometimes you're going to have to make a play call. It can help predict the future, but it isn't the future, like, and then the past is the past or in the moment. So you can be paralyzed by data, but I think most people are just underfed data wise. I'm just like, yeah, just when we get to that point, let's work on that problem. We got the other problem
Yeah.
nowadays. People are just kind of, you know, they don't put in the extra effort there.
Well, I'll use that analogy, data fed, to use this one, which is you can wonder why you're gaining weight. And when you get the data by reading the nutrition facts on the label, it doesn't mean you're going to lose weight because you have access to that data. It's what do you do now with that data to course correct?
That's right. Like there's a thing today of a guy who lost a ton of weight eating McDonald's for every meal for 100 days. And well, what? Yeah. Well, what you can find out is he ate a quarter of the portion or half the portion. And even him, he's like, I should eat healthier, but I lost the weight because of how much of it I actually ate.
Okay. And also, So there's data that was presented, there's data that was left out, and amongst that data that was left out was not just portion control, but it was also about what other things is he doing in that day or in his life that's adding to his weight loss.
Yeah.
You I don't know how transparent
It
that
was
person was
pretty
in that
like, he
story.
didn't exercise, he drank 90 ounces of water, and he's like he attributes it to the water,
Water's good.
portion
Yeah.
control, and what he put in. Like, just even though what he put in, he self-acknowledged, like, "This is not quality food." Hydration
Yeah.
is huge as well. Yeah, yeah.
A lot of times people just attribute a lot of their weight loss to portion control, and that's literally not changing any other behavior.
I don't know how we got here, but we
We got here because of data.
let's go data. Data, guy losing weight with
Data,
McDonald's, let's go.
data to weight loss advice on the Transferable Skills podcast.
So, the next round, I actually don't talk about this round too much, was my stint in a clinical company, and I was able to be an intrapreneur, meaning they'd give me a bunch of cash, and I get to go build stuff. That's the only way they could keep me. I'm not a big company person. I'm
Yeah.
a bit of a cowboy, and I know you can relate to this story, as well. But I got to build tech. Like, I got to breathe things into life. My ideas becoming products, and those products becoming real, and then people getting real value. I won't spend too much time on that part of the journey because I got back with my partner, and because he's like, "All right, I found a company." Instead of starting from scratch like we did the first round, we purchased a company that's 16 years old out of Vancouver, and we joined them. And my transferable skill was I actually started in the product area first. So I was the product officer, and I came in and started to learn a technology called WebRTC, Web Real Time Communication, which I had never really heard of. And I was like, I'll just learn it, just like going back to school, I'll just learn the numbers. Oh my. These guys were speaking English to me as well. I was like, I have zero idea what you're saying, like zero, you know?
Yeah, I'm told this is English, but none of
None
it's
of it
registering.
but I had to just hard knock life. I'm in there with the engineers. All of a sudden, I'm leading engineers and understanding more about the product. And I got a chance in that time to work with the chief of police of Washington, D.C. to reinvent the 911 phone call. And the challenge was, how do you go from a phone call? Now, the worst part of your phone is a phone because it's on a technology called telephony. It's ancient. It sucks. All right. But that's what we use. How do I go from that phone call and then tap into your cameras? Because these cameras are liquid gold for
Yeah.
police officers. Because as a citizen, you can just point the camera and stream that to the police car, fire truck, emergency medical. It's called situational awareness. And so I had an aha moment like at 3 in the morning when I was like, I got it. Like no apps, frictionless. And we have this ability to send a text and transition from a text to video. So now when you call, you get a text, you can tap it, don't have to download anything, and now I've got access to your cameras, and I can stream it anywhere, point to point on the globe.
So the consumer or the citizen in this case is electing to give you access.
Has to. There's a
Yeah,
safety
because
feature.
there's a whole privacy and safety thing,
Yep,
right?
so
Consumer protection.
exactly. They have full control of that, but once they say yes, we're in, right? So I was like, "Well, this is interesting. Who else could use this?"
Yeah.
So I meet with the guy who takes care of the Tennessee Titans football team, NFL, 20 years in the FBI. And I'm showing him the emergency stuff. And he's like, James, this all looks well and good for emergency, but I got the stupid question for you. I'm like, lay it on me. He's like, this arena here in Nashville is huge. And I have to hop in my golf cart a lot to go see one of my team members. He's like, could I just send a text to one of my guys, even like when the trash cans fall over and he can just show me so I don't have to hop in my golf cart and I can tell him what to do? I'm like, oh, yeah. And that was my eureka. Because then all the way back to my service-based business, I remember having Nextel walkie-talkie, sitting at the Waffle
Oh
House.
yeah.
It was the coolest thing. And I was like, "Whoop." Yep. And then you start talking, and I was like, wait a second. This is like the Nextel walkie-talkie, but for your eyes.
Wow. Yeah, it's immediate. It's immediate connection.
Immediate.
Eyes on quality control.
Oh my goodness.
It doesn't matter what the application is. Anybody who needs eyes on anything for either instruction, tutorial, quality control, or just verification of something that took place, conditional and environmental solution, that it's the solution for that.
When the NFL came out with the instant replay, could you imagine if they got rid of the instant replay right now? Because you said, no, it's only live calling. How pissed so many people would be, especially the ones that are on DraftKings and stuff, how pissed off they would be if they just left it to that. They're not getting rid of the instant replay. What I'm
Right.
saying now is you can bring the instant replay into your business end to end,
Yep.
from selling to operating to follow up. And as a business owner, I always wanted eyes on everything, but I couldn't. I physically has no way to do that. But now I can review every sales call, review every engagement, before and afters, customer testimonies, post-op, everything. I get eyes on everything as a business owner, and that transparency level is good for my team as well and me. Reducing claims, it's like helping me see the problems, helping me coach and train, and it's keeping my customers safe. If I have a team member who's not doing so hot, you know? But
Yeah.
this level of shining light on it is game changing.
That's literally what you did in that first meeting with that employee on the team who's on a performance plan. No one's ever given him the data. No one's ever given him the information that was necessary that he needed in order to improve. And so that there's the trust, that's the confidence, but then there's also just the data integrity of knowing now I have information. It's no longer subjective. This is objective data.
That's right. And it's going to separate the winners and losers. If you find that you're scared of this or your team is scared of this, somebody's hiding something, right?
Do you consider yourself a product guy?
Half of me is a product guy, yes. 100%.
When someone asks what you do, how do you answer the question?
Well, I remember first meeting, like when we purchased the company, I started getting to know the founder. And he's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Well, I can clean the toilets or I can run the show. I'm just
Yeah.
going to go where I'm needed." Like I'm an owner. That's what you're getting. I'm an owner. Unless I'm not willing to listen and not willing to really get into it, then I believe I can learn most anything. Some stuff it might be beyond me, might be beyond my talent, but I I'll get my hands dirty. I live my life up in the air on a ladder. Like where did I learn to paint a house best? On the ladder with the paint sprayer. I taste the vanilla ice cream and then I'm in it. I'm in it, so
Yeah.
but I am a definitely a product. I mean the product we sell here I came up with that.
Someone with a creative mind and ambition, but also maybe curiosity, growth minded. How do you keep yourself focused on this versus jumping to the next shiny thing that emerges in your brain
I
even?
get this little thing called help from a friend. Yeah, this is what my partner and I wrestle in the grass all the time. His thing always for me, if he could give me one word, it's always focus. Focus, focus. I'm interested in a lot of things. When I stay focused, I can really blow things up in a good way. But I do struggle with that.
What you must have a method, a practice for disciplining your focus. What is that?
Help. Really, it is. It is. It's a reminder.
Is it accountability? Is it somebody telling
Accountability.
you you're not focused
Yeah,
enough?
it's accountability. It's my numbers. Like what's my most important number, and am I focused on it? And it changes whatever role I'm in because I've changed roles in our company like 18, 20 times. Like it changes like all the time. I never
Yeah.
get too cozy, but when I'm in it, what's my most important number that I'm focused on? Right? Like if I'm running product, how many bugs did we squash this week? If I'm in sales, how much cash did I put in the bank, this month? If I'm and every day even has the most important number. How many reach outs did I do? How many connection points? Like and staying focused there. Because
Yeah.
I do a lot. I've got nonprofits that I've created from nothing. I'm sitting on nonprofit boards. I'm doing technology. I've got 4 kids. Like I mean, it's always something, and I'm curious in all of it. I love it all. Like you can find me sitting playing a guitar like you do, or creating new technology, or side building projects for people, or like yeah, I'm a like a squirrel, I guess.
What's your relationship with sleep?
Not great, although it's one of my things I've been working on. That's one of the things I've really been working on. Like some of my best ideas have happened 2 or 3 in the morning. I just get out of bed, come down on my iPad, and start drawing and sketching things out. I can show you original sketches for like even stuff we have were our products today, but I am working on it. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it.
I think that might be fine though. If it's working for you, it's not coming at a cost, or the cost is not that great, then maybe it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I'm trying to make a lot of good health changes and choices now. More water, more steps, more sleep.
Portion control and water. I think that's what we
Yeah,
learned,
see,
right?
full circle, back to it all comes back to that.
It's a big journey going from running a home service painting company into technology and product. And I think there's been a bunch of things that you've named as some of your powers, some of your strengths, your skills. What other superpowers would you say that you attribute your success, things that have worked for you?
Yeah. So this is the transferable skill from day one. I'm not scared to get in front of a door and knock on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it never opens. Sometimes it opens and people yell and slam it closed. Sometimes they step out and they listen to you. And then finally, sometimes they actually become a customer, right? And I don't focus on the no's. I expect the no's.
Yeah.
I expect the no's, but I hold on to the yeses. And I only need 2 yeses a day. Just 2 yeses. I need 2 yeses. And so my most important number right now, talking about focus, is I want 2 people to agree to meet with me every day who are strangers or are referred from, right? Get referred to, right? I want 2 a day. And how I do this in an industry like I just stepped into the restaurant industry that I know 0 about, 0. And I'm sitting there talking like Subway and Panera execs about like what we talked about earlier, right? How to get rid of throughput and reimagining that. How did I get in front of these people? How did I go from being a nobody in the moving industry to leading a conference last week where people were paying $100 a ticket and I had the most famous of mover in the moving industry up there on virtual stage with me. And I've only
Yeah.
been in that industry for a year and a half. I was a flea on a dog. And this guy wouldn't even return my calls until he was on a virtual stage. The first time we met was on a virtual stage. Wild, right? How do we do that? And how is this important? And what is the superpower? The superpower is going to a little site called LinkedIn. Okay. And I know for some folks are like, oh no, like you just hit stop. You're like, I'm done with this podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
They assume you're looking for the synergy.
Right. Oh, yes. Let me use a bunch of corporate words. Right. So here's what you do. Go and get a nice photo of yourself. Like do a professional headshot. That's first step. Second step, on your banner, make it look nice. Don't make it look janky, like you got a box of crayons. Like, get something nice up there. Put your history and your about, okay? Then what you're gonna do is every day, only up to 20, every day, up to 20 blind connects in your industry first. Start with your industry. The more local, start off great, and you can do that. And just hit the connect button. Do nothing else. No love notes, no pitching, no nothing. Just hit the connect button. That's it. That's all you have to do to start with. And then you do one other thing. Once a week, post something of value. And something of value can be literally a photo of what you worked on before and after, a video of your team, like something you learned from a book you read, or an article. Share one thing a week. Okay. So you're going to connect and share. Here's what's going to happen in the beginning. Some brave souls, 1 out of 20 or 2 out of 20, will just hit accept. I don't know. They just do. All right. People like to be wanted. And it is what it is. All right. Then after a while, you're in the industry and you hit the connect button. Like I'll hit a connect button with someone and it will have 350 mutual connections. What do you think that person is thinking?
Yeah. I must have met this person somewhere. At the very least, this person is somebody I should know.
Exactly. You almost feel a little dumb. Like, how do I not know this guy?
Yeah. How do they actually feel insecure because they assume they met you somewhere and can't remember you. Now it's their fault.
Exactly. So then, but little do they know, it's just me, like 100 mutuals, 200 mutuals. And then go ahead and also like the vendors. Don't worry. Not everyone's trying to be a vulture and get your money, but vendors
Right.
get in front of a lot of your competition, just so you know. And then get in indirectly with people. So now you're going to adjacent industries. Okay. And watch what'll happen. They might even invite you on stage. That's what they did for me. They might have you fly out to talk. It's incredible. Put yourself out there. And I can almost guarantee this, that you will get a new connection that you never would have had that changes your business game or new customers. Like I've made thousands and thousands of dollars doing this. And I'm not special and I'm not that good looking. And, I talk a lot. So there you go. If I can do it, you can do it. But you've got to do that daily. It's a daily muscle, like you're going to the gym or whatever. Just, make that happen and thank me later.
That is a superpower. Thanks for sharing that because it is consistent with everything you said about knowing the data, needing access to it, and being true and consistent about that. It's the same thing as anything in sales. If you know that you need to close 2 a day, whether that's new connections or sales, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. If you need to close 2 a day, statistically you're not going to be shooting 100%, right? So what is your typical conversion rate on whatever it is we're talking about? And now back it out there. So what is the number that you need to, first of all, reach out to solicit in order to expect a conversion on average of the number that engage into a close? And so for you in connecting in the industry and making connections and establishing yourself that lead to either speaking opportunities, engagement, or just connections that you want. all these things. You're opening doors because you're treating your social network no differently than you do the discipline and the data-driven process of your sales and your
That's
business.
right. On average, I meet 2 new strangers a day, and we spend usually 30 minutes to an hour together, and sometimes we start texting, sometimes we become friends, sometimes we do stuff together, like, that was where I was from, and then they start introducing you to people. That's how I met Noah.
Yeah.
I got ref That's exactly how I met you.
I mean, it worked. Here we
Here
are.
we are, and that's just this is what it is, and, of course, I try to make myself worth something of value by reading, right? By getting with 2 strangers a day, by having experiences to share, right? You become a somewhat interesting person, at least maybe I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid here, but, like,
If you're
this
happy.
I you know, this is something I've learned, and I wanna end with because I think it'll change someone who actually does it, which, oh goodness, how many people are not gonna do it and then complain? Like, I'm giving you the answer to the test, and then you're gonna get in front of customers who gave me the answer to the test for the technology that we built. The police, to the FBI, to the self-storage guy, to the mover, to whoop, here we go,
Yeah,
off to the races.
you can trace back the breadcrumbs to what led you to where you are today and the success that you've had. It's attribution, be able to take that data and know where the source is, the origination of
Yeah.
that source.
It's the modern
That's
day knocking of doors where I started.
yeah. Well, I gotta ask one more thing because you brought it up. Well, you sort of brought it up. This process is very hard data driven. Conversion that leads to sales, to growth, and maybe even speaking engagement, et cetera, et cetera. And then a good portion of this is surrounding soft data. Is there a way to track soft data, and is there a way to value it because you know that it does actually lead to the hard data results?
Before I answer that, I'm gonna answer a question. How do you define
Yeah.
soft data for those listening? How would you define it?
Okay, great. Thank you for asking that question. Allow me to define it so you understand why I'm asking this question. So, making connections on LinkedIn, that's hard data. I know exactly how many I solicited. Having a conversation with somebody, be it 10 minutes or an hour long, connecting with them and texting with them, having great conversation that you enjoyed, that to me is soft data. It hasn't led anywhere yet, but you have to understand like the quality of a conversation is somewhat subjectively soft data. Was this a meaningful connection or not?
Yeah, I mean, well, that depends on you, right? What you can
For
control,
sure.
right?
It is subjective, but how do you look at all of this from this soft data standpoint when hard data is so compelling? Soft data can also, but I don't know how you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain part of soft data is tricky. It's subjective. In this case, making connections with people, it's who you are, the stories of your past, what you represent, what you believe in, what you're focused in on, how well you listen, your questions, your human connection abilities, your emotional EQ. These are the tough building blocks, right? And like, not everybody has that. And how do you get that? Well, go get rejected a lot, man. Like, go get hung up
Yeah.
on. Go like see where things lead. Right? You might be naturally gifted at this where you're just everybody loves you and they just, they want you to meet everyone. They want to do business with you. They want all this. And then if you find, man, I don't get referred to anybody. I don't get any business. You go with you everywhere you go. This is where we started the
Yeah.
podcast. Get some feedback. Call a person who never calls you back. Hey, I know you never call me back. Why not? Maybe some brave soul will tell you the truth. Oh, you talk too much.
Most won't, but then
Most
maybe
won't. You
one
just need
will.
one or two brave people. And usually it's your family and friends who can you can start there, you know?
But not always.
Not always.
Sometimes because they have such a biased opinion because of the nature of that relationship, they're more protective and worried. The thing you're asking them for their feedback and criticism about, sometimes they will be honest, and sometimes you do need that impartial judgment from an unbiased source, a third party, somebody who has nothing at stake and will be honest with you.
That's true. Strangers.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of both. It can be
Well, maybe,
you can grow in it.
yeah, and maybe soft data is actually hard data that has yet to be understood.
Right.
So all that stuff, the quality. So I'm thinking of like soft data about like, oh, this is a great conversation. So subjectively, I really enjoyed that hour-long conversation with you, and it's soft data until it becomes like extrapolated and synthesized into hard data. So for instance, it might be sentiment and tone. It's if I can track that conversation and eventually attribute it to a success down the road, that led to an introduction here, which led to some success metric in the future. and a favorable outcome, then now let me go back and figure out attribution scales and metrics associated with that soft subjectivity, the quality of that conversation that I could then learn from in order to get other similar results that were
Yeah, it
favorable.
reminds me of how comedians, they
Oh my
go and
God.
they test all the
Yeah,
material at low budget places, and then
totally.
they combine all the best things that got the real laugh, and then they go on the
Yeah,
tour, right?
right. That laugh is hard data, but it's subjective too. It's soft and hard data together. It's the number of laughs you get anytime you get an applause. That is
Yeah,
data.
that's data. Here's your data coming back at you. And so I think for what are the takeaways for any listeners, right? One, learn to ask great questions. We reference like the Chris Voss book, the how and the what questions, and then learn how to tell good stories, right? That aren't dragging too long, but are engaging. And how do you know if it's a good story? Judged by your audience, right? And if you can collectively come up with these great stories, with great questions, you become this interesting person, right? That, you're engaging. Hopefully, they're all true. Like, the best stories are the true ones, right? Like, you're not just making up fairy tales, but, like, today on the podcast, right, I just told different stories of my life, all true, and hopefully, I've learned something through them, but by me sharing my stories with you, you draw out just like as we listen to other people's stories. And then you can tell other people's stories too. You can borrow the stories, like, "Oh, I heard someone telling this or someone doing that," like the McDonald's story we talked about. So, we're back to McDonald's again. So
Yeah, there's a theme here. Are you hungry? If you weren't before, gonna be soon. Um, yeah, this is great. This has been a fantastic conversation. It was obvious from our introduction, our discovery call that we had a little while back that this was going to be a great conversation because, you and I, we have a lot of overlapping interests, but more importantly, it's that curiosity, and I think that's what draws us to conversations like this is just the natural curiosity about the individual, but also the data. And the data in this case is, what did it take to get you here? What were those steps? And for me, that is the value that I hope is being imparted on our audience listenership is that they can take away some of this stuff that's relatable and stuff that's inspirational.
love it. Thanks for having me.
That's great to have you. Thank you for being here.
I want to thank Brandon Sewell for recommending James as today's guest, and to you, our listeners, for joining us on this episode of Transferable Skills. Remember, the skills you've gained can take you anywhere. Until next time, keep exploring those transferable skills.